The year is 1966. The Cold War is at its peak, and tensions are running high between the East and the West. In the heart of this global conflict, a story unfolds that sounds more like a spy thriller than a historical event. This is the story of the Kamshish Affair, a tale of espionage, betrayal, and a family torn apart by the relentless machinery of the state. Our story begins in Port Said, Egypt, a bustling port city on the Mediterranean. The central figure is Salah Hussein, a man who worked as a clerk for the Suez Canal Authority. To his neighbors and colleagues, he was an ordinary man, living a quiet life. But Salah Hussein had a secret. For years, he was a spy, feeding sensitive information to Israeli intelligence. How did an ordinary clerk become a spy for a rival nation? The seeds were sown years earlier, in the aftermath of the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. Salah's family, like many others, was displaced and ended up in a refugee camp in Gaza. It was there, amidst the hardship and desperation, that he was allegedly recruited. He was promised a better life, financial security, and a way out of the camp. For a young man with few prospects, the offer was too tempting to refuse. Years later, Salah found himself in Port Said, perfectly positioned. His job at the Suez Canal Authority gave him access to shipping schedules, naval movements, and other vital intelligence. He would meticulously gather information, writing it down in invisible ink, and pass it along through a network of contacts. For a time, the operation ran smoothly. He was a ghost, a valuable asset providing a constant stream of information to Israel. But the world of espionage is a dangerous one, and secrets rarely stay secret forever. In 1966, Egyptian counterintelligence, the Mukhabarat, began to close in. They had detected a leak, a steady flow of information from a highly sensitive area. An intense investigation was launched, and the net began to tighten around Port Said. Every employee of the Canal Authority was scrutinized, their lives and histories picked apart. Eventually, the trail led to Salah Hussein. One fateful day, security forces descended on his home. The search was thorough, and they found what they were looking for: the tools of his trade, including the special chemicals for his invisible ink. Salah was arrested, and his secret life came crashing down. Under intense interrogation, Salah confessed. But he wasn't the only one involved. He revealed that he had recruited his own brother, Abdel Salam Hussein, into the spy ring. Abdel Salam also worked at the port and had been helping gather and transmit information. The revelation was a devastating blow, turning a story of espionage into a family tragedy. Both brothers were now implicated, facing charges of high treason. The news of the spy ring sent shockwaves through Egypt. The idea that Egyptian citizens, brothers no less, could betray their country for Israel was unthinkable to many. The government, led by Gamal Abdel Nasser, used the affair to stoke nationalist sentiment. The media portrayed the Hussein brothers as heinous traitors who had sold out their nation for money. Public opinion was overwhelmingly against them. The trial was a major public event. It was held in a military court, and the outcome was almost a foregone conclusion. The prosecution laid out the evidence: the confession, the spying equipment, and the testimony of Salah Hussein himself. The defense argued that the brothers were coerced, victims of circumstance who were preyed upon by a sophisticated intelligence agency. They painted a picture of two men trapped by a promise made long ago in a refugee camp. But in the charged atmosphere of 1960s Egypt, such arguments fell on deaf ears. The court found both Salah and Abdel Salam Hussein guilty of treason. The sentence was death. The brothers were executed by hanging in early 1967. The state made an example of them, broadcasting a clear and chilling message: betrayal would be met with the ultimate punishment. This is where the story usually ends. 2 spies caught, tried, and executed. But the Kamshish Affair had a dark and disturbing second act. The investigation didn't stop with the Hussein brothers. The Mukhabarat, emboldened by their success, believed the spy ring was much larger. Their attention turned to the small rural village of Kamshish, the ancestral home of the Hussein family. The security forces were convinced that the entire village was a hotbed of spies and sympathizers. What followed was a campaign of terror. The Mukhabarat descended on Kamshish, rounding up dozens of villagers, including distant relatives and even acquaintances of the Hussein family. They were taken to detention centers and subjected to brutal torture in an attempt to extract confessions and uncover a wider conspiracy. The methods were horrific. People were beaten, electrocuted, and subjected to psychological torment. The goal was not just to find spies, but to crush any potential dissent and terrorize the community into submission. An intellectual and communist activist named Salah Hussein, who had no connection to the espionage, but was from the village and had been organizing peasants, was also arrested and tortured to death. His death, however, became a turning point. It sparked outrage among intellectuals, writers, and artists in Cairo. They couldn't stay silent while innocent people were being brutalized in the name of national security. Prominent figures began to speak out, demanding an end to the torture and a proper investigation into the abuses at Kamshish. The public outcry grew so loud that President Nasser could no longer ignore it. He was forced to intervene. He ordered a commission of inquiry to investigate the allegations of torture. The investigation confirmed the worst. The security forces had indeed engaged in systematic and brutal torture of the villagers of Kamshish. The fallout was significant. The head of the Mukhabarat and several high-ranking officers were dismissed. The Kamshish Affair became a national scandal, exposing the dark side of the security state that had been built under Nasser. It revealed a system where suspicion was enough to warrant arrest, and torture was a standard tool of interrogation. For the people of Kamshish, the ordeal left deep and lasting scars. Their village was forever linked with treason and torture. Families were torn apart, and the community was shattered by suspicion and fear. They were victims twice over, first by the stigma of the Hussein brothers' espionage, and second by the brutal hand of their own government. The Kamshish Affair is a complex and multi-layered story. It's a story about the cold calculations of espionage and the human cost of the Cold War. It's about how a state, in its quest for security, can turn on its own people with terrifying force. It shows how the lives of ordinary individuals can be destroyed by the grand machinations of international politics. Looking back, the affair serves as a powerful reminder of the dangers of unchecked state power and the importance of due process and human rights. The story of the Hussein brothers is a tragedy of betrayal, but the story of Kamshish is a tragedy of injustice. It's a somber chapter in modern Egyptian history, a tale that resonates with themes of loyalty, fear, and the abuse of power that are still relevant today. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into forgotten history. See you next time.